Hey YouTube, this is The Art of Prepping. Just wanted to talk about a certain subgroup of preppers. They are definitely more advanced preppers, maybe even what you would call a pro prepper. They're very clever individuals. They're very much more of an expert in terms of preparation. These individuals is what I call the wizard preppers. Very interesting topic really to talk about. These are just very few. These are few people in the community, a small minority, and these individuals really excel, kind of like not only in just in stealth, but these individuals have the uncanny ability to do preparation magically. Not like, hocus pocus magic, but magic in the sense of being so consistent in their abilities and actually being able to stay under the radar and to accumulate assets over time as a lifestyle, but do it in such a fluid fashion that that they don't ever even bring attention to even the other family members. And I mean, there are some people who are professional preppers that even their wife or their children don't even know that they're prepping. Now that is just insane. Now, first of all, you probably don't want to go that far just because you'd want to have people on board with an emergency plan and to know how to use gear and to practice, with the resources at hand. But this kind of goes to show that there's people who actually live almost another life. We sometimes hear in the news about people who have two families, and they both think that their husband, for example, is a businessman, and part of his job is that he travels a lot for his job. But in reality, he's going from one family to the next, back and forth, sometimes in different states, just to make it a little easier on him. And now, of course, the wizard prepper isn't going around with, practicing infidelity. I'm not kind of saying that kind of thing, but I'm just making the reference that the wizard prepper actually has that divide. He's not obsessed, or he or she is not obsessed at all with the prepping, and a lot of times it's not even a hobby. It's just something that is a calling for the person. Now, when you say calling, a lot of people say, well, that sounds kind of mystical and maybe a religious type of connotation. What I mean by calling, I mean by a drawing towards, a movement toward, because there's a logic base. There's an intuition that because of common sense and because of prevailing types of awareness, that certain actions need to be done to counter other possible future actions for the betterment of himself or herself and the family. So these people, though, are so interesting because, and I have had only a chance to meet maybe one of these in my lifetime, because they don't advertise themselves and they're so low key, just so low key. You typically find these people in outdoor activities. They typically have a small homestead, but they don't even refer to their place as a homestead. They just call it their house. And what you find, though, is that these people don't go overboard. They just have a lot of stuff that's really cool, and a lot of knowledge and libraries, or they have multiple types of connections with various people that are very diversified. Just like the average person that I'm probably talking to, including myself to some degree, we're kind of a little bit more narrow-minded than we would say. I mean, there's only certain types of people we would probably associate with and do business with or whatnot. These wizard preppers really, even if they don't really care for you, they have like relationships everywhere. They know everybody, or at least a lot of people in their community, and they're like professional networkers is really what I'm trying to say. And so we can learn a lot about these people, just like we can learn a lot from these people that are like the hidden millionaires, like those really low-key people that you hear about on the news all the time, that that like Mrs. So-and-so just passed away, a widow. She's like 90 years old. Everybody thought that she was rather poor and very humble in her means. And then they find out that she has like $50 million in the bank, and no one understands like how that could be. And even her relatives don't even know how that could be. And it's just like those kind of things, because some people are humble, and it doesn't even matter how much money they have laying around, they're still going to be humble. And it's kind of rare. I'm not going to say that it isn't, but man, that's what I'm talking about. That's that flair to to just be yourself. And if you don't need something, you don't need something. But there's also a point, though, that if you have, let's just say you have $50 million, it might be a little bit irresponsible. I mean, I'm not trying to be judgmental, but a little bit irresponsible just to put it in a savings account. There could be a lot of things that could be done of good with that it may not make a lot of sense just to have it. I mean, you may want to diversify it for one, and then may want to put some of that money to work, not only for the betterment of others, but to build up your contributions to your own legacy and to your family and their family's legacy and the future of your family and maybe even the community you live in. There's nothing really wrong with using some of your money if you had that much, but that would be so cool to have that much. But some people say, well, it's not so cool because look at all the stats of people who win those big hundreds of millions of dollars on lottos. Now, this is another whole topic for another video, but man, those people, typically they say within 5 years, the average lottery winner, especially that wins over $1 million, is actually in worse shape than they won it before they even won the money. Within 3 to 5 years is usually the outcome, that they actually are in worse shape. And that typically means bankruptcy or major debt. And so they not only spent all that money, but they spent more money than they even had, which is kind of hard to believe. But this is the reality. People overextend themselves. But on the flip side, there's these people like the wizard prepper or the neighborhood millionaire next door, incognito, that for some reason their whole mojo, their whole flow of life is not that way. They don't get caught up in stuff. They don't have to have any new stuff. I kind of wish I had a little bit of that genetics to not be so interested in the new stuff. But they literally just drive that 15 to 20-year-old truck, for example. These wizard preppers, just like the millionaire next door, they just live in the same house for pretty much all their life. They don't get caught up in all the hoopla, and a lot of them don't even have cable TV or even internet for that matter. They're just very simple. They just know how to accumulate wealth or how to accumulate preps and to grow and be proficient. And they kind of have that knowledge of what really is a priority, what really is worthwhile with your time. And a lot of that has to do with family and personal development and growth. So we can look at those people and go, hey, we can learn a lot, and we should learn a lot because most of us aren't even halfway there to something of that nature. And it takes a lot of discipline, though. And I think that this is one of the single aspects of this conversation that's the most important, that the drive for motivation and persistence in America, at least, it's actually it's at a record low for maybe even the century. I don't know, but I just know it. Never in my entire life have I seen people so unmotivated to do stuff. Of course, there's people that I know because I'm around people that are very motivated, but I'm talking about the average person in society that I run into that I don't typically, do a lot with. But just the few minutes in a grocery store or this or that, it's like they have no motivation to even shop for groceries. You're like, hey, don't you want to eat tomorrow? Or you kind of get to a point that you kind of wonder, how do people even get on with it in their life? How do they even function? And I think that the answer is that some of them don't function. And so, anyways, you guys be safe. I hope everyone's functioning well, and that you take a little bit of this to heart about the wizard prepper and just the total dedication that they have toward the safety and betterment of their family and the contributions down the road, even when they pass away, all the things that can come about because of their decision making, which is quite amazing.